Welcome, dear ones, to this Side with Love Sunday. This worship service is the capstone to this year's 30 Days of Love, which is our annual opportunity to collectively nurture our spirits, deepen our understanding, and side with love by living out our values as we work together for collective liberation. As we head into 2022, I know your hearts are tired. My heart is tired. Here we are 2 years into this global pandemic that has taken so many lives and caused so much isolation and hardship for all of us, but especially for those who were already impacted by systemic inequity and oppression. Our elected officials continue to fail to pass national legislation to ensure voting rights, a strong social safety net for the most vulnerable, and support for struggling communities, businesses, and families. Culture wars and disinformation over everything from vaccines to abortion to critical race theory are everywhere. Too often it feels overwhelming and impossible. And yet when my heart feels heavy, I pause and I think about all of you, my Unitarian Universalist siblings around the world who continue to show up every day in 1,000 ways to manifest love in the world. When congregations are providing sanctuary for immigrants or sheltering refugees, I am hopeful. When networks of UUs partner with people in Texas to access abortion care, I feel filled with hope. And when hundreds of volunteers bring their skills to organize together through our Side with Love squads and organizing school cohorts, I am filled with hope. When UUs put their bodies on the line in direct action with water protectors, or Black Lives Matter, or the Poor People's Campaign, I am filled with hope. Because I feel our power and I know that hope grows from being in the struggle and from being in the work of love and justice. So however you come to the work of being human right now, exhausted, frustrated, angry, generous, inspired, on fire, focused, despondent, struggling, passionate, however you come to the work of being human right now, as you are willing, as you are able, I invite you to bring your spirit, to open your heart and to lean into the callings of love and justice, and lean into the power and strength of your wider faith community, of all of us as Unitarian Universalists. You are welcome here in Unitarian Universalism. You are precious. Your work and your life and your heart and your shared faith has the power to heal and connect and sustain us, even in the midst when we are all collectively experiencing so much exhaustion in this time. In that spirit, in the spirit of our collective strength and power, I invite you into this time of worship. I invite you into this time to slow down, to remember that we are all in this together, that this is no time to go it alone, to slow down and remind ourselves of the vision of a world made whole, in which all people are free and thriving. May this worship be a blessing to your spirit, just as you are a blessing to this world. Come, let us worship together.
Hush, listen. Somebody's calling my name. Hush, listen. Somebody's calling my name. Hush, listen. Somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, Somebody's calling my name. It sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Well, and soon one morning, death come creeping in my room. Oh, soon one morning, death come a creeping in my room. Soon one morning, death come a creeping in my room. Oh my Lord, shall I do? Well, now I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. Oh, I'm so glad trouble don't last always. I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Yeah.
Please stand in body or spirit for our chalice lighting and spoken affirmation. We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend out into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community. Join me as together we remind ourselves of the affirmation that is a cornerstone of our free faith tradition. The words, should you need them, are in the morning program. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to help one another.
What if I only had 30 days to love? 30 days to love this life, these people, this earth.
What if I only had 30 days for praise, for admiration, for reverence? 30 days to love my God.
What if I only had 30 days for lament, for hopelessness, for loss? 30 days to be with the absence that proclaims the space for love.
I would love like an action. I would love with my full, courageous body.
I would love without apology. I would love with my full, courageous spirit.
I would love like the holy. I would love with my full, courageous presence.
Without apology.
Like an action.
Like the holy.
And it would hurt, and it wouldn't be easy. You know this. It couldn't be easy.
And it would be confusing, like a pandemic is confusing, because it would wipe away everything I had come to expect.
And the scarcity. The scarcity of time and space for love would make my heart pound with excitement and disquiet. But for those 30 days, love would be unfolding.
Without apology.
Like an action.
Like the holy.
Because what else does life demand but love? It is the abundance that knows no ending. It is what we find when just moments before, we had found nothing.
So give us 30 days to love, and you will know our abundance, our unfolding.
A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. A long way from home, a long way from home, alone. They took my baby from me. Lord, they took my baby from me. Lord, they took my baby from me. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. A long way from home. Well, a long way from home, from home, a long way from home.
Hi, my name is Lauren Wyeth, and I have a story for everyone, small and big. And it's kind of a small story about a small thing that my son invented. And at first, I thought that maybe it was too small of a story to share here. But Adrienne Marie Brown is a big thinker and writer with a big heart and a big imagination and big ideas. And she says, small is good. Small is all. And I think that's true about this lesson that my son taught me. So here's the story. When Ames was very small, oh my goodness, he was such a cuddly kid. He had a lot of big feelings and he was very expressive. But sometimes when he would get hurt or frustrated, those big feelings would be too much for him and he would get overwhelmed by them. And he wouldn't want to be around anybody. So he'd run off on his own and hide rather than let anybody help him. He'd rather be somewhere where no one could find him and know how upset he was than have someone witness what he was feeling. It was almost like if somebody saw how he felt, it made the big feelings even harder for him to bear. So this one time I saw Ames fall and get hurt and go off on his own. And I wanted to help, but I didn't want to intrude. So I went over to where he was and sat a few feet away from him and asked as gently as I could, "Hey, Ames, could I give you a little hug?" And he said no by shaking his head. But then without saying anything else, he turned and moved a little toward me and he went like this. And I took my pointer finger and reached back toward his. And we sat like that for a minute with our fingers touching until he was ready to talk. He didn't want a big response. He didn't want a lot of attention. He didn't want everyone coming over and giving him advice, trying to help in a loud way. He just needed this small gesture, this finger meeting finger. We needed to start there. So this small act became a thing between us that helped us over and over again as Ames was growing up. And it didn't just help him, it helped me too. I remember one time when I was quite sick and I'd been in bed for a couple of days and I was not even really feeling well enough to talk. And I heard the door open and Ames crept into my room. And then I felt a little finger on my finger. And he stayed there beside me for a few minutes. And that was the most comfort that I had felt during that whole time I'd been sick. It was so sweet that he showed up in that way with that little act of love. And then when he got older, when he was a teenager, sometimes we couldn't seem to agree on just about anything. But if we were in the middle of a conflict and one of us would go like this, the other one would always reach back. It was like we had this unspoken pact that if someone did this, you had to meet them there. You had to match that little act of love. You had to slow down. We had to remember that, of course, we love each other. Of course, we're on the same team. Of course, we can get through this. We can figure it out together. That little act was really a helpful starting point for us many times. Small is good. Small is all. That's true in a lot of situations. It's true in our justice work too, for example. When big things, really big things, aren't fair or right in the world, we might think that a small act doesn't have that much importance or isn't that useful. We think bigger is better. Of course, we want love and liberation right now. You know, we want a world where everyone knows they're loved and shows love for the earth and the animals and one another. But in our big world, there are so many ways we are not all free. We don't all have what we need. We don't all feel like we belong. There are so many things that need fixing that it's tempting to lose hope, to believe that there aren't enough people who care, that the amount of love that I have to give won't be enough, won't make a difference. How can I do anything that's going to help anyway? We can't use love, it is true, to heal an illness. We can't just use love to magically clean a polluted river. Love isn't going to just change unfair laws or remove barriers that make it hard for people to vote. But remember, small is good, small is all. So there's no way to really better understand that than by watching what a small act of love can do. Because acts of love make hard things easier to bear. Like a tiny pointer finger that connects us to one other person and reminds us that we're not alone. Acts of love connect us to other people and those connection points. That's where the magic is. That's where the energy and potential lives. So I want to ask you, what's the very smallest loving action you can think of? The very smallest, the smaller the better. If you're with other people right now, or if you are online together, maybe you can share your ideas out loud or in the chat. I know we want a whole world full of abundant love everywhere for everyone, but if we were to do just the smallest loving action, what would it be? The smaller, the better. Maybe you'd be willing to take one of those small actions and commit to it. Maybe you'd be willing to do that small action every single day for a week, or maybe even for 30 days to get a real streak going. And then you would find, I'm sure, that that small daily act has a much bigger impact than you would have imagined. The first day you might think, that was way too easy. What's the big deal? I should do something bigger. I'm not even sure I want to do this little thing every day. It seems insignificant, but just wait and see. Stay with the small. Small acts of love don't stay small. They expand and they grow and they spread. Dr. Cornel West says, justice is what love looks like in public. But love doesn't start in public. Love starts between you and me. Small is good. Small is all. Let's start there.
In the midst of the hardest days, shaped by the most tedious of moments, when the heart breaks open and the spirit is weary, speak to me of love. When the earth cries out in despair under the weight of trash and debris, choking on poisonous plumes and darkened dust, speak to me of love. When bodies are rejected, dejected and subjugated by fear, misunderstanding, and a sheer lack of imagination, speak to me of love. When humanity is ensnared by virus deadly and individual rights are lauded as supreme, speak to me of love. When in a suspected and supposed democracy where all are equal and the ability to vote is a right, yet we make false idols of procedures and tainted halls for the pure sake of greed and contempt, speak to me then of love. When peoples of hues vast and varied, rich as the cosmos are criminalized, brutalized, and theorized, speak to me then of love. In the midst of the hardest days, shaped by the most tedious of moments. When the heart breaks open and the spirit is weary, lament, dear ones, without apology, for this is all too much to bear. For what is love in a moment such as this? It is a force which drives and sustains us through wilderness valley to the mountaintop. It is the force behind the plow which gives forth abundant nutrients and sustenance. It is the force that rebuilds and makes things new. It is the force that shields us in truth and resiliency. Love indeed is an action. It is the reality of relationality, of mutuality. It calls us into a space of transformation betwixt and between, all while overcoming the teething, tearing desires for perfection. It is grace made known for all of us. Love, lament, and rebuild, dear one. For from the impossible to the real, to the here, to the now, to the love which binds the world together, may love be known here.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. Don't you stop until you find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. Oh, don't you stop until you find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace. There is more peace somewhere. Oh, there is more peace somewhere. Oh, yes. And don't you stop, oh, my, until you find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy. There is more joy somewhere. more hope. There is more hope. There's more peace. There is more. There is more love. There is more love. Somewhere.
Don't stop till you find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm going to keep on until I find it. There is more love somewhere. The meaning, some would argue, is almost the same. Elder Henry sang, "Don't stop until you find it." It's the way I learned the song in my youth, in the churches that I attended. I'm going to keep on until I find it. That's the way I learned the song at Unitarian Universalist congregations. The message, though, is very clear. There is more love somewhere. We must continue on until we find that love, because there is more love somewhere. It is not here, it is somewhere, and we must keep on. We must not give up. We must not give in. We must continue until we find it. It kind of reminds me of this tweet I saw by Joel Leon. He writes, "I never saw my mother walk on water, but I saw her wait for the bus in the snow to pay the rent." We define holy differently. And as a hospital chaplain resident, I have lots of time to think about what is holy and what is love. One of my favorite daily duties is joining my voice, thoughts, prayers, and intentions with those of my chaplain colleagues all over the world as we read the prayer requests that have accumulated in the prayer boxes stationed around the hospital from the night before. Some of these requests come from the same people, and we find ourselves transported to them in our daily conversation of lament and thanksgiving, while others are often scribbled and shoved into the box in hopes that something or someone can slow it down or make it stop. Something can shield them from impending doom, as if they are hoping that we chaplains have been equipped with a sort of prayer shield or maybe a love shield that can shield them and theirs from it. And as I make my rounds, I hear people searching for the holy in their hospital rooms when they plead for a cure for what afflicts them. And sometimes I hear people utter a prayer for the holy, for intervention, for help, right before they receive the news of a loved one's death. I see people experience a heaping portion of the holy as they come through horrendous accidents, astonished when they find that they are only a little worse for the wear. And of course, in those moments, everyone seems pretty clear that there's some type of something holy or big that just happened. And it is easy to see that something is holy when it defies what we think of as possible. However, love is holy. It is a holy act that occurs every day. It happens in ordinary encounters between strangers, between colleagues, between families and friends. And not just the romantic love of fairy tales, though there is something special and beautiful and holy in every love and every ever after. But I'm talking about the love that informs, that acts, that empowers, that invites. love that encourages us to act for the betterment of the interdependent web of all.
Love is an action, says the Reverend Ali Casey Bell, and he means it. Is it a perfect action? Is it the only right action? Will it fix everything that's broken? No, love doesn't show up that way. Chaplains know that. Reverend Ali knows that love does not show up in perfection, but in presence. And love is an action that is reciprocated indefinitely and without ending. Because we are imperfect and mortal, but our love is forever. That great-great-grandmother who held me once, the one I don't remember, save for the light-soaked sepia photo, I feel the love from her arthritic hands on my back. Even now, when I conjure that image, it is the same love that flows through my imperfect hands when I reach out with wonder and presence, without ending. Abraham Joshua Heschel, whose love, whose wonder, and whose presence, whose faith and history drew him to the work of the civil rights struggle with Reverend Dr. King. Heschel committed to King and to civil rights because that work for liberation was grounded in what he understood as the Hebrew scriptures that traced the exodus from Egypt, drawing attention all the while to the imperfection of the liberator, to the fear and the trembling of Moses, and to the trepidatious backsliding of the Israelites. Heschel committed to the work of liberation, knowing that no step, no action, none was perfect, but that every action on the side of liberation, every act of presence was itself a prayer, a brush with the holy, and love incarnate. I draw closest to Heschel's theology when I remember his testimony about our ego. He laughs at the way we mere humans think that we are the ones seeking the holy, but all the while it is the holy that is seeking us, that is waiting for us, present to us, imperfect us, vow-breaking, mess-making us. And all we need to do is, thank you, Heschel, all we need to do is allow ourselves to be found. My colleague was found by a pumpkin. Found by a pumpkin at one of the most powerful protest marches I've ever been on. We were rounding the streets of Edgewood, New Jersey, days after an unlawful, unjust, injurious arrest of Black Lives Matter leaders. We'd been marching to re-hallow the streets, to assert that no one would turn those leaders round. And my colleague was stopped by a person who presented her with a pumpkin. This is miles into the walk, and there was at least a mile to go, and pumpkins, they're heavy. But this pumpkin said, Black Lives Matter, painted by a child's hand. It was the most improbable, imperfect gift. And that pumpkin was love overflowing. It was everything that you don't want to carry. But it was love's presence incarnate. We had been found by the holy, found by a pumpkin, imperfect offering, waiting for us, our imperfect selves, love without ending.
But what if we only had 30 days to love, or lament, or rebuild? What if we only had 30 days to love the world into the place that we know it could be? Now that seems like a tall order. it seems a bit overwhelming to consider even. In our Time for All Ages, we talked about how loving can be something that starts small and grows bigger. We talked about how loving is something that might even start at home. We talked about how loving is something that is something we must do as humans. And that feels about right to me. And I don't know about you, but after recently moving to a new city, I can feel that in my bones. But how do I even begin to connect to places to make a difference? I don't know. You see, I often get caught up in my own stuff of looking too uninformed, or even worse, being too needy. I often feel really excited about finding connection in my local community and finding a way to get back into community, or finding a way to make the ache stop through action. You know the ache, right? That feeling when you read, listen, watch the news, and you are just immersed in the vastness of all that is unjust, all that is wrong, all that needs people to care, people who desire to bring forth change and to create change. Yet there often seems to not be enough resources, people, not enough care, not enough love. That pernicious cynicism can creep in and act as an immobilizer to my very real desire to act. Does that happen to you? In All About Love by Bell Hooks, she speaks of this cynicism as the great mask of the disappointed and betrayed heart. And when I read that, wow, it hit me so hard, because boy, friends, I can feel that. And if we know anything, we know that as a country, we have all been betrayed by democracy, by the way we were founded as a country, by the way this country was set up at all. We know, for honest and for true, we have yet to have an election where all the people who should have had the right to vote have been able to cast a ballot to vote. We know that some voting districts are rigged to make sure that the right people win. You know, we know this already. Yet we also know that in order to move our country to a place where there is a hope for fairness in our democratic process, we must act together. We have to move beyond our discomfort and connect. And now is the time to act. So, whether your aim is to reform the system, or whether your aim is to tear it down and start it over, there is a place for you in this cacophony of loving witness. The decision to side with justice in all of its forms is loving and holy. The decision to side with justice in all of its forms is loving and holy. We have to. And Bell Hooks invites us, she says, to begin by always thinking of love as an action rather than a feeling, she explains, is one way in which anyone using the word in this manner can automatically assume accountability and responsibility. Imagine an accountable and responsible way of loving. We are often, she continues to say, taught we have no control over our feelings, yet most of us accept that we choose our actions, that, she says, intention and will inform what we do. We also accept that our actions have consequences. And she's right. So, with that framework in mind, if we only had 30 days to love, we would have just enough time to make a real connection, just enough time to act, just enough time to look too eager, to be too cynical, to get disappointed, and to remember that our actions have consequences and we are accountable for them.
Love is an action. And as our dear departed Thich Nhat Hanh has shared, my actions are my only true belongings. Imagine that you only have 30 days to love. 30 days to act your love. That is not enough time to get it perfect. Barely enough time, even to attempt to get it right. And aren't those some of the most treacherous stumbling blocks that befall us, Unitarian Universalists, that befall me so incredibly? That seeking after perfection, that craving after getting it right, the right words, the best action, rather than getting active imperfectly because there is no other way than imperfectly when we are human. 30 days to love is plenty of time to let go of those impossibilities of perfect and always just right, and to let love find you. Plenty of time to be present to those who are aching, to scrawl your love on a pumpkin, to defend what you mean when you utter the prayer democracy. Plenty of time to offer your imperfect self for love's unfolding. Plenty of time to let the holy find you in your imperfection, in the work and in the action. Amen.
We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and for our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. Those who wish are invited to bring their gifts to the table where the bowl awaits, or by tapping on the Donate tab on the church app.
Haven't we been blessed today by this wonderful service? Well, I want to invite you for a time of celebration as we create the beloved community, loving one another, love in action. Why don't you come and go to that land? What land? The land of freedom, the land of hope, the land of peace, a land where there's love and unity, a land that flows with milk and honey. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. This song, in the context of which it was produced, spoke of that land, a place where racism, sexism, and all the isms that seem to divide and separate us were no longer existed. We walk together in the spirit of love and of unity, where one and one we continue to show God's love to each other, hand in hand, walking together. Come on. It's an open invitation. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Well, this song can be found at 10:18 in Singing the Journey. Why don't you celebrate with me? Come and go with me to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land where I'm bound. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land. Come and go to that land where I'm bound. There is freedom in that land. There is freedom in that land. There is freedom in that land where I'm bound. Well, there is freedom in that land. There is freedom in that land. There is freedom in that land where I'm bound. There is justice in that land. There is justice in that land. There is justice in that land where I'm bound. Hallelujah. There is justice in that land. There is justice in that land. There is justice in that land where I'm bound. Well, and they'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Oh, they'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land. They'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Hallelujah.
Dearest beloveds, I close as we began by inviting you to consider living as if you only had 30 days to love your life, 30 days to love this world of people, to love this earth. I invite you to love as the belated bell hook suggested, with a knowing that, quote, love is really more of an interactive process. It's about what we do, not just what we feel. Love is a verb, not a noun.
I invite you to stand in body or spirit for the extinguishing of the chalice. Please join me in saying the words to extinguish our chalice. The words, should you need them, are in the morning program. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.